shopgear.com.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
What's up, Rock Soldiers? This is the Rockstar Robbie Vegas coming at you with another episode of All Bets Are Off. Today is going to be a fun one. We have Bob Rosen on the show. Bob is the ring builder for All Elite Wrestling. That's right, AEW. I first met Bob a few years back when he was still working for Impact Wrestling. He was a great guy, told a lot of great stories, funny stories, and kept us all laughing, and we had a great time. And I gotta say, when I was watching Double or Nothing, I saw Bob sitting at ringside, and I decided to reach out and see if he wanted to jump on the podcast and share some of those stories and let us know how he feels being a part of arguably the most talked about wrestling organization in the world right now, All Elite Wrestling. It's no secret that they've been making waves, and they're coming to TNT, and what better way to discuss AEW than with one of their employees. So before we jump in the interview, please remember to support our sponsors. You support those who support us to keep this podcast going. Unchained Muscle. If you go to Unchained Muscle and use code RVegas20, you will save 20%. Shaker bottles, gym bags, hats, t-shirts, leggings, shorts, tank tops, whatever you might need. And of course, they have their mental health charity section, which donates to mental health charity. So please check out Unchained Muscle, and let's get Bob on the phone and get going with this interview.
Well, I think one thing that I can speak to, I can't get too specific, but I can tell you straight out of the gate, a lot of concerns that guys will have is what happens if I get hurt in the ring? Because that's the one thing WWE covers with the Pomco insurance. And we can confirm anybody that gets hurt in an AEW ring will be 100% taken care of by AEW. But again, back to the case-by-case element, the first thing we want to do in raising the profile is raise pay. And that, we're a startup, so that's kind of backwards, but that's okay. That's our goal. I meant it what I said. The wrestling economy, happy wrestlers means happier fans, wrestlers who have choices, and you can't pay someone minimum wage to go to a wrestling school and expect them to be excited about that. We're not doing that. And I don't mean to knock anyone who is. I'm just saying we're not doing it. But yeah, as of now, insurance in the ring, that's all covered, and we're going to move forward. Hopefully, after Double or Nothing, we can tighten up the infrastructure even more. You know, my goal, some people know this, I'd like to see...
It's just amazing the difference between companies. You know, the times I spent, doing little things here and there at WWE, and then, then going to Impact Wrestling, and from there, MLW, and, now AEW. And everyone is different in nature. It's incredible. I mean, just my part is I'm everything. I love doing it. I still have that drive and that passion, man. That just I won't let go of it. And I build rings, man. People are loving it. I mean, Cody Rhodes, goodness gracious, came down, and first time he saw that ring I built for him, he had tears in his eyes, man. Almost made me tear up, and he came in and he goes, never disappointed him. It's that keeps me what I do, staying in his business, and I enjoy it. I love it.
That's amazing. I got to say, too, before we even dig in and I start, asking you a bunch of questions and all that, how's your health? Are you doing okay?
I'm doing, man.
All right.
Work, it just keeps me busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, for the start of these questions here, I want to take it back to the very beginning. I want you to tell me how your career in the world of pro wrestling started as a whole.
Oh, wow. All right, so starting off, man, this is going to be fun, interesting. My father was out of the military, out of the Army. He was blind and had diabetes. And to my younger years as a kid, I was, like 8, 9 years old, and he would always sit in front of the TV Saturday morning and watch championship wrestling from Florida, Gordon Soley. And he would always have me come down and sit with him and explain what the characters, what the talent looked like. And I got into it with him quite a bit, on explaining it to the point where, you know, every Saturday morning, man, it was religious that I'd turn on the TV set, and there we are, we're sitting in front of it watching it. Well, my dad passed away when I was 11 years old, and I didn't want to leave that part of me where I always liked to watch wrestling. I knew, you know, my dad enjoyed and how much he took in on wrestling. And to see my dad, I mean, here's a guy that's 6'2", 250 pounds, and he had a 61-inch chest and a 38-inch waist. My dad was a big man.
Wow.
And to sit there and watch him and the love he had for wrestling was incredible. So I never got away from it. Even in high school, I wrestled. I went through a lot of my real young days and doing wrestling, going to shows, to a time where I was around 19 years old, and a friend of mine in Florida, his father had a steel shop, and his dad came out to me one day and he goes, "Hey, I got all this steel in the back over here that I'm not going to do anything with." He goes, "Do you have an idea?" And I go, "I would love to build a wrestling ring." So
wow.
He says, "Go at it." So I get in there every day, you know, after school, or, you know, going through doing college, and I'd come home and, you know, and I'd go in the backyard, I'd back to his place, and then I'd get the steel out, and I'd start cutting, and I'd look at it, and I said, "No, that's not going to work, that's not going to work." And then I'd manufacture something else and going on. And I was in my early 20s. I was about turning 21, and I completed this ring. And a guy came by, and he asked me if I was interested in renting the ring out for a show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I never thought of it, never thought of it, you know, and I said, I don't know. I said, let me see what it entails. So I went down to the city of Palm Bay, where I'm living now, and I turned around and they gave me all what I needed to have, and I signed up, and it was very inexpensive. Insurance was inexpensive back then, so I did it. You know, I was working for a national beverage company, and I said, okay. So I started doing local indie shows, and I didn't realize how popular a lot of indies. We were doing 600-700 people every week.
Oh, wow.
Here in actually in Oak Valley, Melbourne, Florida, and we started going on, and, you know, and then I was taking a minimal pay to do a job, and I started enjoying it. It was a lot of work. Well, till today, we're not denying it's not a lot of work. And I kept going on. I kept, you know, working it. I started putting the money back into the wrestling and into my rings. And I'd buy something new. I'd work on it, get something newer. Then I get a trailer. Then I already had a vehicle, a big van, and I started hauling my ring all over the place. Started doing shows all over Florida, and got to meet some really interesting people in my younger day. And it's blossomed. It's led me up to what I do today. I mean, one of the first people I got to meet, believe it or not, was Devon and Bubba Dudley.
Oh, wow, okay.
And they were the ones who carried me along and got me into doing stuff. I came out to WWE to watch a show. They said, "Hey, come on out, you know, we want you to do some stuff backstage with us." And it just got interesting even more to me, because I never saw the back part of it, you know, especially with a production like WWE.
Yeah.
And then later on in my life, as I got a little older, you know, I got into Impact Wrestling, and I stayed with them for almost 16 years. And that was where I think my turning point went, where, you know, designing rings and building was something that I always had a passion for. I mean, I built their cages, and I did a lot of work. That's what I always went to. And I just kept going. I kept designing and not liking it, and ripping it up and redesigning and going to and watching. You know, I've always seen the match because I'm at the show. But then I decided to, you know, look into it and say, wait a minute, these guys are getting hurt in a ring that I'm building. I need to change what I do. So I started learning more things about a bump in a ring and what it entails, and started getting really, believe it or not, really scientific into designing rings. And apparently it's worked. I mean, you know, did MLW and that worked for it, believe it or not. I didn't get one of my rings. And then all of a sudden, when I left Impact, you know, I thought I was going to retire, and next thing I do, I get a call from Bully Ray, and Bully Ray says, you know, "Are you still working for Impact?" And I told him no, and this was now 2018 actually. And he says, "All right." He goes, "Expect a phone call." So next thing I know, Cody Rhodes calls me, and I worked with him for a while he was at Impact, and he goes, and he always told me, because I love that ring, and he was bumping on the 6-sided with people. 600, right? But I had changed the decking on it, and it bounced pretty neat, and everybody loved it. So he called me and says, "Hey, look, we got wrestling rings," and he goes, "Everybody here," because I got 18 people here on staff right now in my office, and he goes, "When your name popped up," because everybody's hand rose. He goes, "You to build a ring." He said, "Are you interested?" And I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "I'm interested." So here I am, going forward today. I am, doing the work with AEW. I built my first ring with them, and they truly enjoy that ring to the point where I just got done with the Jacksonville show, and both Cody Rhodes and Tony Khan came to me and said, "We want another ring," and should start working on it. So now that's what I'm doing. I'm getting all the material ready and getting to punch out another ring, man. So I'm going to be pretty busy coming up. Actually, it's not like I'm not busy now, but I'm going to be real busy. So that's been, it's just been going all over the place doing shows, man, when I was a kid, and I loved it. And, right now I'm on my 37th year. 37 years in the wrestling business.
Wow, that's excellent. Now, did you ever, wrestle matches and actually get in the ring, or were you always just the ring builder?
I did some stuff. Believe it or not, when I was a kid, I got to meet Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, wow.
And as being in the youth age, and meeting people like that, I got to meet Big John Studd in, arenas after shows. But Dusty came to me and asked me, he goes, "Are you interested in doing wrestling?" And I said, "You know what, I do wrestling, I high school wrestled and stuff like that." And I said, that to me was fun. I never got into the professional wrestling part. And he goes, "I got a school right down there in Melbourne." And the two brothers were Clone Negro. And those names probably a lot of people don't know. They were two big bodybuilders, and they were doing wrestling, and they had a school. And I started doing some training with Dusty, and I got in there and built up a little gimmick, and because of my background, a lot of people didn't like it. They thought I was making fun of my nationality, and it really wasn't. It was just a part of me that expressed myself in a lot of different ways, which for a lot of people who don't know, my background is I'm Japanese and Jewish. So I have a unique background, and I made light of it a little bit of what the things that I did in the ring, and people thought it was, pretty funny. But the is, as much as I have a passion for wrestling and loving it, I always worked out, did my wrestling, took my bumps, went through the classes, but I never wanted to be a professional wrestler. Does that sound kind of funny? I liked what I did. I always liked being in the background. And what made it come out even forward is I did a spot to a table, and this was an independent show.
Uh-huh.
And we had set the table, had already, did the gimmicks and everything that we needed around the table. And somebody replaced the table with a hard one and took the table that was gimmick and ready for me to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit it, and I bounced off of it, landed on the ground, and busted 5 discs in my back. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
I didn't want to give up wrestling. I didn't want to give up what I did. People notice me and remember me is that on Impact, I was a head security. So I run in and got my beatings. I got my butt whipped many times. I lost about 10 teeth out of my mouth getting blasted in the face, and orbital socket cracked, and the rotator cuff torn in my shoulder, and I loved it. I have, as psychotic as it was, and I loved it, but never put myself in a position to call myself a professional wrestler. So I wanted to stay in the business long enough to make a mark, and I had a knack for building rings, so that's where I stayed.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Now, you mentioned that Bubba Ray called you up when he was with WWE, and what were you doing for them? Were you building for them as well?
No, actually, I was looking at a lot of things, and Nick, who works for them, but I was kind of like, they just asked me to come out, and I did. And in fact, the first time is I bought tickets to go to a show, and one of the security guys that worked there, he saw me, and he goes, "Hey, I need some extra security guys. You willing to give us a hand?" And I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Well, I'll give you a hand." I said, "What do you need?" I said, I kind of bought tickets, and I got my boys here." He goes, "We'll bring them up front. We'll put them in the front row, and and everything else." And that's basically what I did, was mostly security. But I pinpointed a couple things with a ring, and made my comments, and people saw me down the floor, and then they're all saying, "Oh, well, you're doing this," and I go, "No, actually, I just come out here to enjoy a show and off and on. Every time they showed up in Florida, I went out and I worked. I did a couple things for them."
Awesome.
And Devon and Bubba they had their school, T3D Academy.
Yes.
And I would help them put on their shows, the local events that they had. And it just kept cycling. It was one step right after another that just kept leading in. But they were the main people who kept me in the business and kept me going and kept me doing things. And I loved it, man. I mean, the more I got to know them, and I mean, I learned so much about this business from those two guys, from Devon and Bubba. It was incredible. I mean, I couldn't even ask for anything better than what they taught me through my time.
And is that how you ended up also working with Impact?
Yes.
Okay.
They moved over to Impact. I got a phone call. At the time, it was Christian Cage needed a cage security. I'll never forget that. Because you got to come out, Bob, you know. And at the time when I was doing that, you know, I was 6 foot and I was 290 pounds. I mean, you've met me before, and I wasn't that big. I mean, but I was a pretty big guy, and they wanted to use me for security, and I did it. And it just, one thing led to another with Impact, and, you know, they had a problem with the guys doing the ring, and then Bully Ray and both D1 go, man, you got a ring guy here that you don't even realize who you have. And then next thing you know, they gave me an opportunity to work on rings, and there we go, man. I took over, and but I did a lot of stuff for Impact. I mean, I was director of transportation. I was head of security. I was the bell ringer. I was a truck driver for them. I mean, and the ring builder and a floor manager. So I had a postcard for a business card. You know, that's how it was. But I loved it. I mean, and the more I got into it, the more in depth I got to take a look at things and understand how, you know, the show works and how the people behind the scenes are working. And that kept me going because they were a great bunch of people.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's how actually I met you, is I was early on in my career, and I wanted to help out with, you know, Impact Wrestling and rub elbows with people and do that extra work kind of thing. And I meet you, and you teach me how to put up the Impact ring and stage and all that stuff. And now, from what I could tell, I mean, you told us plenty of stories while we were there and a lot of laughs and things like that. You were in charge of also handling some of the talent, right?
Well, as in charge of, like, I'd get things for them if they needed them, and if they needed special gimmicks for the ring and stuff like that. And I mean, I took care of them. I mean, that's what part of my job was, to make sure, you know, when I was on the road, make sure talent was taken care of, and I had no problem whatsoever doing it.
And we won't get into all the stories you told because, you know, I don't know if we want to incriminate anybody on a podcast, but some of them are pretty funny. And, you know, Dusty Rhodes can thank you that we're not going to tell one of his stories right now. So
I didn't, I had a lot of good laughs with Dustin. I mean, you know, even now at AEW, first time he came down when I did at the first show, and he walked out, and he just gives me the biggest hug, and everybody's looking around like, what? You know, what's going on? And he goes, this is the man. He goes, this guy, you know, he saved my life. He goes, saved my ass. And I'm like, man, I said, stop. And there are things you can't say, but I had a lot of laughs with Dustin. I don't know, with a lot of it, man. I mean, you know, simple things. You know, I had laughs with Kurt Angle, and you know, and they were. I mean, we did some things in there that were not really funny, but then at the end of it, it turned out funny. And I mean, if you want to hear it, I mean, I don't mind saying that. I mean, I bet Kurt Angle would get a laugh out of it because it is tremendously funny. I mean, I'll go back and, you know, and say that he always liked to dip. Kurt Angle did. You know, and you know me around the ring. There's no food or no drinks. You know, nothing. I don't want anything on that ring. I mean, that is their stage. And he came out one day and he was sitting on the ring, and I saw him with a little spit cup, and I told him, I said, Kurt, I swear, Bob, I'm not going to make a mess. I'm just sitting here watching. I'm not going to do nothing. I said, all right. I said, I don't want to see that on my ring. And I went to lunch, and then I came back, and he sounded cleaning the ring. And I'm like, I said, don't tell me. And when he saw me, he pointed over and he goes, it was him, this kid. He did it. I said, you just sold out. I said, you threw a 10-year-old under a bus. I said, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, man. What are you talking about? I didn't do it. I mean, he's breaking down to me like, he's like, I'm going to throw him in the wrestling court or something. And he just kept pointing out. He goes, hey, this kid, he ran by, he kicked it with his foot and knocked it over. And I said, Kurt, stop. I said, stop right there. And everybody's laughing because they're looking at him like, I mean, he just, you know, like begging for mercy. And I said, look, dude, I got it covered. I said, I'll take care of it, man. And then he goes, and every time I walk by, he goes, you just have this kid. 10-year-old, man, you blend it on a 10-year-old. We'll go that way. But yes, I have a lot of fun with a lot of people there, man, and that's the greatest thing. I mean, I can't tell you how awesome it is to be, a part of a group of people. The backstage talent and everybody there that just embrace everything that you do.
Yeah.
Every lot of people hear the negativity about it, but it's not. It's not. I mean, it's a cohesive group of people, man, that just enjoy each other. That's the greatest thing.
Yeah, a lot of people, how do I want to word this? I guess they don't really understand unless they're in the wrestling business how that brotherhood actually works. You know what I mean? It really is a huge family.
Right. It is. It is. There hasn't been a wrestler that I did not meet or I did not work with or even help with that I did not enjoy being around at any time. They take you in and we'll go back a little bit and say that, when I did the ring, a lot of talent didn't care about the ring crew. There wasn't that cohesive group in there. And I understood as I worked it, my son still works with me, and he's been with me for 31 years. My oldest son now has been with me in the wrestling business, and he understood that when he watched me work, that, we get in there and the first one's in, last one's a leave. Yeah. And you didn't get a thank you or nothing, from the talent. And I told him, I said, once I get up there in the business, I said, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to show this talent that I am there to work for them, and I am there to take care of them. And by doing so is how I put my rings together, how I keep them clean, how I disinfect everything on that ring, top to bottom, floor, post, everything. And I did. And still today, I have that reputation with a lot of people. They said that's the best ring guy in the business, and I take that to heart.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember taking a bump in that ring after we put it up and just thinking, as compared to all the indie rings that I'd been in at the time, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Thank you.
And I mean, mind you, when I had met you, I was only probably working the indies for maybe a year.
Yes, I remember.
So, yeah. So it was.
I see you on Facebook quite a bit, man. So that's a great thing. I mean, I'm glad you're still in it.
Oh, yeah.
And what you remember when you work with me, if you carry that on to other rings. I was never afraid to show people, talent that, if they were doing indies, you want to make your ring better. I said, here's a couple little tips you can use, and people use that. I mean, and I enjoy that. They text me all the time, or they call me and say, hey man, thank you for that tip. And he goes, that was awesome. He goes, it worked straight on our ring. He goes, everybody thinks the ring was brand new. He goes, and it wasn't. We just made a few changes. So
yeah, I do recall that. I recall that we had a conversation like that, and I tried to take it back to some of the rings that I'd been in after that, actually. Yeah, so, and it does. It makes a difference, even as far as how to do the ropes properly. It makes a huge difference,
Yep. Not watching your ring before.
Yeah. Now, you said you were there for 16 years, right?
Yeah.
So when you left there, you mentioned that you thought you were going to just be done and be retired. So you do the MLW, and then you get the call from Cody. Now, it's kind of full circle. So you're saying you met Dusty, and then you got to work with Dustin a lot in TNA, and then you end up in AEW after a phone call from Cody Rhodes. So what was that like? Like, what was running through your head at that point in time?
Man, I tell you, Robbie, that I have not to say this in a mean fashion, but I kind of grew numb. I mean, after, going through all the stuff I went through at Impact, and everybody knows the stories about Impact. They know that what happened behind the scenes, financial and everything else that went on with them. It was hard that for a person like me I was a salary, so, I always got my checks and everything else, and I didn't have problems. But when the management started changing, it started bringing, everybody's a vision of what Impact should be down. And I didn't want that. I wanted to keep the good side, always the great memories and the great work and all the great people that I got a chance with. But then all of a sudden, people were just going by the wayside. I mean, they were just leaving. I mean, I think, believe it or not, out of like 45 staff people, I was in probably the last 5 to leave the company. And it was tough. I mean, it was just tough. And I kind of grew numb. On it. And when I got the call from Bully Ray, that kind of gave me a little spark. I'm thinking, because ironic thing is people were contacting me saying, "Hey, Bob, AEW's coming up, and they're looking for ring people and stuff like that." They go, "Are you going to be the guy doing it?" And I'm like, I really didn't think about it. It really didn't. I had at that time, I had my own handyman business. I was staying busy. I started out with 3 homes, and I wound up with 37 houses that I work on on a continuous basis. And I'm kind of like, okay, well, I'm having a good time and doing what I want, but now I'm tweaked my interest. I'll put it that way. And then I got the call from Cody, and it kind of brought that spark back to me. It brought that, I think it's what I needed. I still love wrestling. I still went to shows. I still took care of, independent shows for people. And, and I just, it came back and it ignited that spark that I needed to go, man. And I'm happy now. I'm thrilled. I'm excited. And it's, like I said, it's completely different from anything that I've worked with in any other company. They are completely different. I mean, much easier to work with, a lot to be right on the spot, get going, not waiting around to do little things that need to be done and I'm going back to saying wrestling ring wise. Yeah. Things that I have to build and put together, and they leave it in your hands. They know you're capable of doing it, and you do it. And that's still what has that passion inside of me, man. That I still, it burns.
Yeah,
it goes through.
That's excellent. Now, with AEW, do you have the same jobs that you had in Impact? You said you were pretty much doing a whole lot of everything. Now, is it like that at AEW, or do you have a primary focus?
No, it's nothing like Impact. I am, my travel-wise and everything else like that is I no longer drive trucks. Pretty much now, when they just say, okay, Bob, here's a flight, get up here, and I just basically, I get the ring set up. Again, you as you well know me, when I walk into buildings empty. Yeah. So my task is, build that ring, build around it, work on things, help out wherever's need to be helped out at. Mm-hmm. And my main focus is the ring, and that's basically what I'm doing. Ring and surrounding areas, bike racks, floor padding, stuff like that. I'm the ring guy, and that's it. Well, they put me on the bell, ring the bell, but now they brought somebody else in, so because I need to control that floor. I mean, as well as you've seen shows, you go and watch a show, and all of a sudden somebody bleeds all over the place. The next thing you know, you come back and, oh, hey, there's a new canvas, and how do they do that? Well, that's my job.
Right. And I did catch you ringside during Double or Nothing. That's how I knew you were working for AEW. I sat up and was like, "That's Bob."
Yeah, that's everybody noticed me. Everybody goes, "Man, he's down by the ringside," And then people who came out there, they recognized me from Impact, and it's just a great feeling, man. And that still instills in my heart all the time, man. That people recognize you, and I'm not talent, I'm Bob. I'm the ring guy.
Well, you're a very, very important role, so that's really cool. And now, obviously, AEW is pretty much the most talked about thing right now. How does it feel just being a part of that?
I'm always excited to read it. I mean, a lot of people didn't. I don't know if anybody saw the interview that Cody Rhodes had at the end of the Jacksonville show. Mm-hmm. Again, the things he says, he brings tears to my eyes, because they were talking about, Jacksonville being their home base, and talking about, upcoming shows, and they said, hey, you got a brand new ring, and Cody said my name. He goes, I got the best ring in the business. And he goes, Bob Rosen built it. And he goes, you all know Bob Rosen, and that, I mean, right there, I mean, on an interview, he just puts out my name out there, and that just makes it more of a drive for me to make sure that I do what I know how to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool of him to do that. And you were, of course, were ringside when him and Dustin just ripped into each other, and probably one of the best matches that anyone has ever seen. Yeah, that had to be awesome to be sitting there and witness. And they ruined your new ring in one night.
That was one night. But you know what? That is one thing that. It used to be, I used to get so mad. I used to get so mad when, James Storm, I'll throw his name out there, because that guy he'd spill more beer everywhere on that ring. And what I use to keep the canvas, I use enzyme cleaners to make sure that there's no blood gets on it, nobody gets sick from anybody bleeding or anything like that, no spit, no nothing. Mm-hmm. And when you dedicate yourself to making sure that stays like that, you're always expecting in your mind that, hey, don't mess up my canvas, don't mess it up. Yeah. And, it got messed up. Matter of fact, I'll give you a little insight. I had 2 canvases on that night, and one of the guys that was working with me was getting the contractor's paper that goes in between the canvases. Yeah. he got the wrong stuff. And they turned around and told me, don't worry about it, Bob. We'll just cover up this section over here and then, shoot the middle. And I said, okay. I said, you know what? I said, what we got to do because we're like an hour before doors. So I said, oh, my goodness. I said, all right. I said, but hopefully, I know there was going to be blood in there, but didn't know it was going to be that much. And then they bled and it went through both canvases. And
oh, wow.
kind of. But ironically, I had found a way to clean blood almost completely off where you don't see it. And I did that canvas, and people were amazed that I actually got the blood off that canvas, and you couldn't even tell that somebody bled on it. I can't
even believe that a human being could bleed that much, to be honest with you. So as I was watching it,
we had to get our hands and knees with gloves on and hit the padding on the outside around the ring, man, and try to get it all cleaned up. And it was a wild ride for sure. I've been around the business, 37 years, and this was one of the bloodiest, if not the bloodiest, time I've ever went through, and you could see it. I mean, you could tell the whole entire scenario that went on, and the ending was phenomenal. I mean, that was real. That was straight from the heart. You could see both of them crying. I mean, it was straight from the heart. I mean, and we're all down around the ring, man, and I don't think there was a dry eye all the way around us. Everybody was just into it. Everybody was into it.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was great.
Well, same thing with everybody that I was watching it with. It was just kind of a silent room. It's one of those moments where you're witnessing something special, and everybody who watched that night is going to remember that forever. And we're going to tell that story of when we watched that match and what it did to us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for definite, man. I mean, I say it still today, when people talk to me about it, and I tell them, and they go, oh, come on, that was all fake. And I'm like, you guys have no idea what you're talking about. I said, no. I said, but let me ask you the question. I said, did you enjoy that match? And, oh, yeah, I loved it, man. It was awesome. I said, there is what I'm talking about. That's the point.
Yeah.
You enjoyed that match. Don't look at the things that you think you're an experienced wrestler, and that that's fake and everything else. And as a matter of fact, everybody said, he cut himself, but he really didn't. Actually, he got hit in the side of the head with the hammer, and people didn't even realize that. They thought it was something else, and it wasn't. It was actually a hammer, and it wasn't taped. It wasn't meant to be in the ring. It was just grabbed and bam. I mean, he took it over the eye, and it split him.
Wow, yeah.
Split him good.
And oddly enough, his father was known for being a good bleeder, but I think he won that war.
Dusty with the blonde hair down the face all the time, man. Yeah, you did that, but yeah, no doubt, man, he did that, and it was. I mean, nobody complained about it. Nobody said it was. Dustin was one that didn't say it. He just said when he walked down past me, he goes, "Did I ruin the canvas?" I go, "Get out of here." I said, "Don't worry about that canvas." I said, "Get out of here." Like I said, those incidents, the wrestlers would come down and say, "Bob, I'm sorry about the ring." And I'm like, "Dude, stop."
Everybody knows.
That is really simple. Yep. And that's the backside of it, that people don't get to hear and don't get to see, and that's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll have a lot more matches that are coming up, and I mean, they're really stoked about everything they're going to do, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and I mean, staying in that same vein, is there anything that you specifically are looking forward to with AEW coming to TNT?
That I have to tell you, working with television, and Impact was with Spike, and I'm going back to Impact because that was my biggest time in watching things that were going on and understanding more, production-wise, things that went on and how they worked it. They really, truly have a lot with TNT, and the amount of experienced people that we have that's on that floor and doing the production and everything like that, it's going to be awesome. I mean, it's really, they're working hard to touch base on everything. They ask our opinions, which is really awesome. I mean, that's AEW, asking, hey, what's your opinion? And, we give it to them. They ask us questions about the ring and, what can we do? And I said, just do whatever you want. I said, it's your ring, and it's going to be, I can't really put my finger right on one simple thing. I mean, I'd have to go into it. I'd really have to see how it's going to work, once we go live. And once I get done with that show, I will know, a lot more what's going to happen. I mean, like I said again, I go in there, I do my job, and then we'll go through the questions while we're, building up for TV, and we'll see.
Excellent. All right, very cool. So off topic now, well, kind of on topic, kind of off. We're going to stray from your career, and I want you to just give me, as a fan, from a fan's point of view, since you grew up watching wrestling and getting into it with your father, give me your personal Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling, your top 4 guys of all time that you were really inspired by and really enjoyed.
You are going to laugh is, I mean, people probably would not even recognize. I mean, some of them you're going to recognize. And my top 4, believe it or not, my first one would be a guy who's from Canada. His name was Joe the Duke, the Canadian freight train. I don't know if that name pops up to a lot of people in memory, but if people go on, Google and look up his name, you'll see this guy won a lot of titles. And he was just, I liked him because he was just a big guy he wasn't big physique, no nothing, but he had an animal magnetism about him that just it kept me wanting to watch him. I mean, he didn't go in there and be flamboyant. He went in there and he wrestled. He kicked your butt. I mean, that's plain and simple. He really went through and he did a lot. And again, my second one would be Dusty Rhodes. I got to grow up watching him. I got to work with him. I mean, I did all the things with him. I did autograph signings. I did security doing autograph signings with him. He put me over quite a bit on the radio when I did stuff with him. But just what he had in him is what gives me that drive or what I want to see in wrestling. Then, we'd have to go through and Jeff Hardy. I mean, I got to know Jeff inside and out, been to his house, got to sit with him and talk with him and know the inside of Jeff Hardy. And his stories and his dealing that he does is incredible. I mean, if he wrote a book, it'd be a bestseller. The guy is just phenomenal beyond all means. He wouldn't take no for an answer. He wouldn't take, you can't do that. He goes, watch me, and just that passion that he has for wrestling is what makes everybody want to watch what he does. I mean, you've seen all the crazy things that he does, and he does it. And that's what brings me out. That's what makes me win. And then the other one would be Kurt Angle. My top 4. Kurt Angle would be on my top 4 only because, here's a guy that was Olympic champion, wrestled with a broken neck. And for him to come out and do what he does in wrestling, and pound for pound, I put anybody in the ring with him. And the guy is just, he beat you from pillar to post, and he'd do it in a friendly manner. He wouldn't be, he looked like he's mean, he looked like he's nasty, but the guy, he had a drive and a motivation. And again, I keep going there with these 4 wrestlers because that's what makes me want to enjoy wrestling more. It's not always getting on the mic and talking. It's getting in there and having that drive and that passion to get in that ring and show everybody, what you can do, what you're capable of doing. And if younger talent and younger people want to get into it, watch them. Watch these guys work. Watch what they do, and they're phenomenal. Today's wrestlers are excellent. Don't get me wrong. They do so many different stunts. It's incredible,
Absolutely.
But if you don't have that passion and that drive, then it's just a stunt.
Yeah.
But if you make passion and drive out of it, that's going to make you want to watch it more and more. That's what makes me want to be more interested in watching that wrestler work, because they show me that passion that they have for this business. And here's where I have it. That's my passion. So those are my four, but I have a lot of them. I could, oh my goodness. 37 years, I have to talk out a bunch of them if I can remember everything that I ever did. But those guys gave me something that made my heart just beat every time harder and harder when I watched them work. And knowing them personally, that also was a big drive for me. It was a big drive. So those are my guys.
Awesome. Excellent. I really like that too. It's like a nice span over and different styles too. Now, in the same vein, is there anybody that maybe you haven't worked with yet that you would like to before you actually do call it quits on doing this?
Really? No. I've met everybody. Even back in the day where, Stone Cold, Steve Austin, The Rock, all these guys that, I've known them. I worked with Rocky Johnson, so I know that, through my independent days, and I got to meet all these other people. I really don't have anybody that I haven't met yet that I wouldn't want to work with. I think that in the future, I would start seeing. There's a lot of people. I'll be honest with you. One right there comes to my mind that I love to get with, and I've met him and I've talked with already, and I watch him, and that's Pentagon Jr. Oh yeah, an incredible athlete. Just in general, his demeanor is nothing like you see on TV. And yet the guy can walk out, turn face, and in that ring, man, and he goes, 190 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And, being with him and seeing him, and now he's doing work. I met him with MLW. I met him early in Impact.
Yeah.
But get to associate with him. And MLW, then we kind of talked a little bit back and forth. You know, I mean, his English is really broken, really bad. And now AEW, when he comes out, he sees me, and I joke around with him, and he's responsive. I mean, he kind of gets in there, and he likes to mess around. He'll walk up and, you know, hit me in the back of his shoulder or something like that. But yeah, him that's one. So Pentagon Jr. would be my guy in the new one to see how he works out, you know, later on. But right now, I believe he's just incredible.
Excellent.
So, and I think he's in a ladder match with us. We'll be in a ladder match in Chicago.
Okay.
So
okay.
We're gonna be really watching that one.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. Now you've had an awesome career. You're obviously still going, and I'm really loving these stories. And again, I've heard stories from you in the back at Impact that were equally as awesome. So I guess one of my final questions is going to be: is there anything else that you want to accomplish, or do you feel like you've done it and now you're just enjoying it and just watching it unfold?
I do have certain things I want to accomplish, and in doing this, it details a lot. You know, with me, has to do with a ring. But in this point, I have a unique design for a cage, and I'm not going to let it out. But I have a unique design for a cage, and I've been working on it for quite a few years, and I'm hoping that I get that opportunity to bring that out. I mean, I think that would be my final thing, is to design that and actually manufacture it and get it built. I have worked on a lot of different things in the wrestling business, but ring-wise, I have fine-tuned wrestling rings to the point where, you know, they walk in and they go, my God, it's like, you know, bouncing on a cloud. They said, you know, and that actually, believe it or not, came from AJ Styles. So,
wow.
He told me, he came to me and told me, he goes, you have saved my life so many times. He goes, I can't thank you enough. And you know, it's just that, I still have that. But I think if I was to leave it today, I honestly tell you that I put everything, my heart, my soul into what I do, and I'm happy. And that would be my thrill. That would be, if I had to end it, I would end it clean.
Right. Well, I got to say, I hope we do get to see this cage design, and I'm going to say we heard about it first here on the All Bets Are Off podcast. And I do got to say, though, I've had run-ins with a lot of guys over the last almost 9 years that I've been doing this, and anyone who's ever come into contact with you has such good things to say about you, and you're very well respected and loved in this business, and I feel like that's rare for everybody to have a good opinion on one other person. Because, you know, in this business, you get a lot of people who don't get along, but everyone always has good things to say about you, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
I treat everybody the same. I don't discriminate. I don't do anything, and sometimes I've had people tell me I'm too forward, you know, but I let people know that, you know, this is, it's not a game. You can have fun in this business, but this business is one that you have to be serious about, because what I do takes care of you. That you, as far as your talent and people in that ring. I mean, I am not about to let somebody, you know, do something wrong with one of my rings and fail and hurt somebody. I can't be that way. That's why I clean it. That's why I'm so, you know, adamant about putting the ring together and how I put it together and how I, you know, combine numbers and times of turning and you know, the padding and everything else. And I will never, ever stop doing that for any talent. And my line is I have a job and I work for talent. I work for the talent, because that is their stage. And if I can't build them a stage that's comparable to what they need to do and work on it, then I don't need to be there.
Right. Yeah. And, well, you've definitely left your mark on a lot of us, and big, small, indies, everything in between. Again, thank you for, you know, being so cool, doing the podcast, teaching me the things you taught me when I met you. And of course, you know, I'm really enjoying AEW, so loving the fact that you're there. Now, before we wrap it up, is there anything that you want to feel free to plug? Any upcoming All Elite shows, events, share any of your social media or their social media, whatever you want. Now's the time for you to just plug whatever.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, they looked on the Chicago show at the end of the month. That's going to be a big deal, but our push will be October 2nd, you know, and that'll be in Washington, D.C. for All Elite Wrestling. I mean, start watching it, get the more people out there and keep going on it, because I'll tell you what, it's like they said, it's going to be elite. It's going to be totally different. Everything's going to be more enjoyable, and it is a great motion of wrestling, because it's not a dictated type wrestling. It's people get in there and they wrestle. And that is what we need in the wrestling business today. We just need to know nonsense. We need to just get in and we need to wrestle. So yeah, just keep an eye out, following it, and I hope to see everybody out there.
All right, awesome. Thank you for doing this, Bob. I truly appreciate it.
Hey, Robbie, thank you for inviting me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Of course, and I'm sure I'll be in contact with you soon. You have a good night.
You too, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody out there.
All right, Rock Soldiers, so that was Bob Rosen, AEW's master builder. So when you're checking out All Elite Wrestling, you're watching your favorite superstars do their thing, you know that they're in good hands because Bob Rosen built the ring. Cody Rhodes said it himself. Make sure you give Bob those props. Very well-respected guy, and I thought that interview was a blast, a lot of fun. Who knows, maybe we'll even do a part 2 down the road after AEW has been going for a while, and we'll catch up with Bob and see how things are going. No doubt that everything will be going great. And as always, before you get out of here, please check out the link in the description of the show for Insane Labs and use code RVegas30. Saves you 50%. If you're a pro wrestler, if you're just a gym rat, if you just like to keep in shape, it's got something for everybody. I've never looked better, felt better, been stronger in the gym, or moved better in the ring. I'm really suggesting that anybody listening to this podcast, jump on RVegas30, Insane Labs. Make sure you use the specific link that is in the details of the show, and make sure you rate the show, subscribe to the show. The more listeners we get, the better guests we can bring to you, and please support the people that support us. All right, guys, we'll catch you next time on All Bets Are Off.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network.